because, oh, there we go. I'm Brenna Burnett, and this is my husband, Adam Burnett. And we've lost 100 pounds together. I think Bobby has our side by side that she might share here in just a minute. But over the last few years, I will say this, GLP-1 meds have completely changed the conversation around weight loss and metabolic health. For many people, they've provided hope after years of frustration, many failed diets, and feeling like nothing was really working. But tonight isn't about convincing anyone to take a medicine or convincing anyone not to. It's about education, right? It's about understanding how to maximize your results, protect your metabolism, preserve muscle, and create that healthy lifestyle that lasts long after the excitement of weight loss ends. And one thing we've learned from working with clients over the years, we've been doing this for over 8 years now, is that weight loss and health are not always the same thing. The scale can move, but if we're not protecting muscle and improving our habits and building a sustainable lifestyle, those results can be really difficult to maintain. And that's why we're having the conversation
Yeah,
tonight.
yeah. And, many people lose weight. I've lost weight many times in the past, but really fewer people keep it off. The difference usually isn't motivation, discipline, or willpower. The difference is having a plan, support, accountability, and the habits to sustain long term. We've seen people with GLPs, medications. We've seen people succeed with them, without them. We've also seen people struggle that didn't have the right guidance and support on them, off them. Our goal tonight is to help you understand what creates lasting success, regardless of your path you choose.
And to help us do that, we're really honored to have nurse practitioner Jay Griffin with us tonight. Hopefully, he's on. Jay works directly with patients utilizing GLP-1 meds. He brings a very valuable medical perspective to this conversation, and he's going to help us understand who may be a candidate, what realistic expectations should look like, potential side effects, common misconceptions, why nutrition, lifestyle habits all play a really important role in
Yeah.
long-term success. And we'll be talking about that a little bit more after he finishes. So, Jay, thank you for being here tonight. We're excited to learn from you and hear your perspective, and we'll just turn it over to you if you're on here. Let's see.
Hopefully.
Oh,
I didn't see him yet.
let's see. Well, we can always go to coach shares, actually.
Yeah, we can pivot to
We
that.
could definitely turn that over. Um, how about we go to some great coaches that have lost I don't know what the combined total is, but Heather Smith O'Neill here at 80 pounds plus down. And Marnie Jewell, where is Miss Marnie Jewell? We'll put you on the screen too. These two coaches lost 80 and 49 pounds, and one improved her symptoms during menopause, and the other noticed a reduction in scattered thoughts and brain chaos during her 3 month use of GLP-1. So please help me welcome Heather and Marnie.
Yeah,
And I think, yeah, there we
look
go.
at that.
There's Heather's side by side.
That is amazing.
And there's
Wow.
Marnie's. So we're just gonna go on with a few questions for you lovely ladies. So go ahead and hop off mute and just just tell us, like, why did you start a GLP-1? We'll start with you first, Heather.
I started reluctantly because I lost my 85 pounds on the 5-in-1 5 years ago. And I definitely had some concepts, I'll be honest, about needing that help. But my um, gynecologist prescribed it. When I started, like, I all of the sudden woke up, it felt like overnight and was a stranger in my body. And all of the sudden, I started storing fat around my middle section again. And I felt completely out of control emotionally with my eating. I was going back to, it's just I couldn't turn off those old habits that I had gotten rid of, they all crept
Yeah.
back in. So she said, you should try this for a little while. It's going to help regulate your blood sugar, and it's helping a lot of my other perimenopausal women. And so I decided to try it, and it really did help me recalibrate where I was. And then I did a little 5-in-1 reset back. So I was put on it in May. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't really have a lot of weight loss from the medication, honestly, but it did help quiet the thoughts. And then I did a little reset and took the 20 pounds off that I had gained. It felt like overnight. I did a reset between mid-September and mid-November. And I mean, and then I slowly took myself back off the medication and I'm rocking and rolling, in our renew phase.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
are.
you are. We were in the gym with her today. She is rocking and rolling.
What is your go ahead and call him. What is your biggest surprise that you had and your biggest challenge?
Well, my biggest challenge is myself. My biggest challenge is me. Um, so it was the emotional piece of things and just getting out of my own way, accepting that this tool is a great tool that many people can use. I had a ton of clients having success on it, and I was like, well, why not me too? And it was interesting because I thought, oh, this is like, I see all these people with their magic shot just eating their piece of pizza and doing nothing else and then wasting away.
Yeah.
And what I found was having the structured nutrition, the habits that I had already created through using our 5-in-1 program, coupled with having this shot, it really helped with the mental part of things and quieting that food noise that felt so pervasive. So for me, that was
And that's what I hear from so many people. What was it that you noticed as far as habits that mattered most for you while you did that?
the habits that mattered most was the
Yeah,
structured nutrition.
the structured nutrition.
Yeah, waking up, eating within an hour of waking, eating every 2 to 3 hours, drinking my water, and moving my body and not focusing on the number on the scale. And I really love, I've since purchased a Renpho smart scale, so I'm able to monitor my body composition as well. So really just not focusing on that number, but focusing on the, structured nutrition and having the community support,
Mm-hmm.
a coach and a community was like clutch for me.
Clutch. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. What about you, Marnie? Like, why did you start one? What was your biggest surprise, your biggest challenge? What habits mattered most to you?
Yeah. So I had reached my a healthy goal weight quite some time earlier, and my grandmother died, and life became chaos. I couldn't function. I couldn't think. I everything was just chaos in my brain. I walk into a room and not sure why I was there. And a friend of mine from high school said, "Oh, I'm gonna try this thing," and and it was semi-glutide at that time. And what I am curious about is that it's purported to impact cortisol levels. I said, "Wait, what?" Because I knew that the stress I was experiencing was a relation to like grieving, the normal grieving, but then also I just had all these other layers. And I was really interested in just trying it. First of all, I knew a lot of people were in that I know were trying it. I'm like, okay, well, I'm curious about their experience because I do have people that I work with who are interested in GLP-1. So I thought it was a good opportunity to see if it would quiet the noise and let me get back into functioning, but also to experience that. So I spent about 3 months using it. I was shocked that the very next day I was like, oh my goodness, I feel normal. Like it was surprising to me how everything just, they talk about food noise. I just felt like brain noise just quieted. What was a challenge for me, though, was getting in the nutrition that I already had a structure that was really healthy, but I didn't want to eat. And I knew that I needed to. So I had to like lean back into and make myself intentional nutrition, not just eat when I feel like it. So that was my experience in the short time that I was on those, and that's been about 3 years. So I'm below my goal weight. Maintained my healthy habits, and was found that to be useful in that season.
What I want to ask you ladies this because I hear this a lot, right? We always ask people when they come to a nutrition program, and after you start, like, what I wish I would have known before. Like, so Heather, I want to ask you, what would you do differently and wish you had known before starting a GLP-1? Just curious.
Um, I think what I wish I would have done probably immediately was get back on the 5-in-1 and do that and do that.
Do a
Have
structured
that
program.
have that calorie deficit structure.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm really thankful that I did it because it helped. Like my hormones were crazy, and I didn't know. Nobody warned me about this phase of my life, and it was just so helpful. So I wish I would have, gone into a calorie deficit sooner. So I would have, I honestly,
Yeah.
but
That's what we want. What about you,
yeah.
Marty?
Well, there are some physical things that happen when you're on a GLP-1. So I wish I would have gone to the store for the extra things that can help when things slow down in your system. That was a little bit of a surprise. I know I'm not Dr. Lopez who talks about all the GI issues very well. So anyway, that was a little bit of a surprise to me. I'm like, "Ooh, this is new and different. I've never experienced this." So I would have liked to have a heads up on that, and felt like once I was able to like glean lessons and learned, I was able to navigate that. Again, I was only on them for 3 months, so my everything works fine.
Love it.
Everything works fine.
We've got structure and we've got good bowel habits.
Yes.
Well, last question, ladies. Heather, for you, what's something you would tell someone considering a GLP-1? What's the one thing you would tell them that you
Eat your
learned?
food.
Yeah.
Eat
Get a
your
structured
food.
plan. Yeah.
Yes, eat your food. Like you'll hear from Carol in a little bit, and I think she will share the same, like to make sure that you're eating your food so you don't lose so much muscle and bone. To make sure you have a structured plan and lean into it. And if you work with a coach, lean into your coach and your community for support.
Yeah.
But yeah, eat your food and move your body.
Yeah.
Eat your food and move your body. Drink your water, have your protein. I love it.
Yes.
What about you? What about you, Marty? This is good stuff.
I noticed somebody asked about clarifying. I was constipated. I'll say it. I was
Oh,
constipated. Things slow down. It makes your body slow down, so it held on to things. So sorry about that. Um,
I knew
so
it. I
what
knew.
I what I would tell people is like being intentional from the very beginning to take advantage of the quiet to create new habits, like that's gold. Like if there's a window of opportunity where your brain is like more receptive to those lifestyle changes, take advantage of it. If you were going to be use that as a tool in your weight loss journey, many people are successful without that, and sometimes people use it as a tool. So I would just say take advantage of every tool you have if you're going to use that one as well.
For sure.
That's good advice,
It
Marty.
is.
Really good advice. Ladies, I just really appreciate you both sharing and being vulnerable.
And super proud of both of you. We've been with you throughout the entire journey, seeing the changes. It's been amazing.
We love you guys.
Yeah,
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you
Seriously.
for the opportunity to
Thank
share
you.
of
with you
course.
guys.
Absolutely. And Heather, who you just saw, has a client named Carol. And let me just start off by saying one of the things we believe strongly is that, lasting transformation isn't about finding this magic solution, right? It's about combining the right tools with the right habit, structure, and support. And that's what Heather just said, like she wished she had had that support. And so our next guest is a powerful example of that.
Yes.
Like many people, she had tried to lose weight before and experienced frustrations that we all have had. And she combined a GLP-1 with a structured plan, coaching, accountability, healthy habit development, and everything began to change for her because she told me that the other day. And she lost more than, I'll let her share, but 100 pounds, I believe, and achieved like something many people only dream about. You reached your goal weight just this past week, right? So what I love most about her story is that her journey is not ending there. She's now entering what we talk about as transition and maintenance, and I'll let her share that. But what that means is she's learning how to keep her weight off. She's learning how to protect her metabolism, maintain her results, and navigate life with the habits she's built along the way. There you go. There's Carol.
Amazing.
Because losing weight is just one part of this. We have to live at a healthy weight for years. And that's, I mean, that's the true victory that we want everybody to have. And so tonight she's here to share what worked, what challenged her, and what she wants others to know if they're considering a similar path. So we're just really happy to have you, Carol. Did you want
Thank
to
you.
ask the first
Yes.
question? Yeah, this is
Well,
Adam. You haven't met
I
him.
know I've seen and I've heard, so now I get the experience, right? And
Yes,
big congratulations. I mean, I
thank you.
love seeing this transformation. I know it's probably got to be kind of an identity shock, right? It's like, whoa. I know it was for me and a lot of others, but before you started this journey, like what was the biggest struggle? What made you realize something needed to change?
I think that I hit the bottom of the barrel.
Hmm.
It was years, and I'm talking 40 plus years of yo-yo dieting, losing the weight, gaining it back, getting more, just like you keep hearing. And a lot of these programs weren't as structured, so it wasn't holistic. And my biggest struggle is myself. I'm my worst enemy. So of course you always talk negative to yourself. So you would always fail. Um, but got into a structured program where it was more of a holistic approach and started making the lifestyle changes as far as eating, moving, and just the mindset. And I found that is the key to unlock your health. Forget, you don't even say the key to weight loss or the solution. It is the key to everything is that mindset just changing of, you won't fail. You're worth it. What I was doing was not working. So let me open up to healthy lifestyle changes. And once that mind shift changes, instead of I just want to be thin, I just want to lose weight, that's a tiny slice of the pie. There's so much more that's behind that. And once I wrapped my head around that and
Everything
opened my
changed.
mind, and everything shifted, and being on one of the best structured programs ever and having a supportive coach that was always there and is always there.
What many people focus on is just the weight loss, right?
Right. Yep.
But for you, like what has changed beyond the number on the scale?
Oh my gosh, so much. First was the brain fog that lifted because my dad died last year of dementia.
I'm
And
so
was
sorry.
so when you start forgetting like why you walked into a room, where did I put my keys, you start getting concerned. But it was even more than that. It literally was a fog around everything. And that makes you depressed on top of that. The swelling or the edema you would have in joints and just your body in general, your back, your neck, because my cortisol was always high. And once I started that structured program and the numbers went down, of course, but I really started feeling better like I've never felt in my life. I feel better now at 62 than I did at 30. And I thought I would never, ever say that or never even be able to get there to say that.
Isn't that
I
cool?
love
It
that.
is so
I feel the
true.
same way. I'm getting ready to turn 50 shortly, but I feel better than I did in my early 20s. And all the things you're saying is exactly what Dr. A says. Let's lift the fog first with nutrition, then you're open more to that change. It's still, it keeps coming and coming in small doses. But now that you've reached your goal, which that was the last week, right? I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
last week.
So
So,
cool to be on this call.
yeah,
Yeah.
now that you reach the goal, you're entering transition and then maintenance. What gives you the confidence to keep it off?
It's not so scary anymore. It's the mind again, mindset of other programs that said, well, when you lose the weight, you get to your goal weight. You thought that was the end. It's not the end. It is far
It's
from
the
the
beginning.
end. It is. It is a whole lifestyle change. And people will ask me, well, don't you miss the candy, the cake, and whatnot? And I said, well, I celebrate a birthday. I'll have a piece, not even a piece of cake, a fork full of cake. It doesn't taste the same. And I
Mm,
remember back in the day when people said losing the weight or no food will be as good as how you feel once you've gotten down to your goal weight. I was always so far from that, so I could never appreciate what they were saying, but it's so true. That
yeah.
stuff doesn't taste the same anymore. It
Yeah.
doesn't make you feel good anymore. It doesn't hit that dopamine like it used to.
Is that what you would say to someone sitting on this call tonight feeling stuck? Like everything that you just said? What would you tell them today?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I would say, don't give up. Don't give up on yourself because you are so worth it and it will come. It's taking me, I've been overweight since I've been 13, so almost 50 years of struggling and thinking I was the failure. Hindsight's 2020. It really is. The programs I were on were somewhat structured, but not like the one I'm on. The support would be there kind of for a while. It was always considered a diet. So when are you
Mm.
going to be able to eat normal again?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I know.
I,
Like
I
this
hear
is
that.
real life.
I hear that all the time. And I used to say it, but it's like, yeah, that's not real food. I was like, what is real food? It's supposed to
Right.
nourish your body. We get too
Exactly.
hung up on this thing, but
Right.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, Carol.
yeah,
Welcome.
and
We
big
appreciate
congratulations.
Thank you so
it.
much.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I highly recommend the GLP-1 and not to everybody, but to tell people talk with your doctor about it. It changed my life. It helped me get that last 50 off. And I experienced so little of the side effects that it didn't matter. And I was grateful again that food noise because you think it's you, because people say, what, you don't have the willpower?
Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't that. It wasn't that. So no, you can do it. But thank
Yes.
you for
Can do
letting me
it. And you
speak.
did do it
You
according to this
did.
picture.
Yeah.
I did.
Well, thanks for
Thank
sharing.
you.
Yes. And
I appreciate it.
congratulations
Thanks
again.
so much.
Absolutely. Well, we're
I
gonna
think we
bring,
got Jay on.
we're gonna bring on Jay. And so just to give a little background,
There he is.
yay! There,
Guys, little
What's up,
technical
buddy?
difficulties in
so,
my old age. Welcome to 50, Adam. You're gonna enjoy it.
well, Jay works directly with patients utilizing GLP-1s, and he brings a really valuable medical experience. So, we want you to help us understand a little bit more, like who's a candidate, what expectations should look like, potential side effects, misconceptions, and why nutrition and lifestyle are such an important piece of this.
Yeah.
So, we'll
Sure,
turn it over to
absolutely.
you. You can have the floor.
All right, perfect. Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Brent told you, my name is Jay Griffin. I'm a nurse practitioner, and I have a clinic in Longmont, Colorado. So I think where we start when it comes to GLP-1s, we have to kind of understand how they work, what they are, and how they affect the body. So, there's a couple different ones. GLP-1 is just thrown out, but there's a couple different medications. One's called a semaglutide, which is what we know as Ozempic, and then there's tirzepatide, which is Manjaro. Those are the brand names. Now we sell it with our compounders under semaglutide and tirzepatide. Why is it important to know that? Well, each of those medications has a couple different targeting places that it kind of targets the brain to say you're full. Semaglutide is just a single GLP, and GLP-1 stands for glucagon-like peptide 1, not get too jargony, too medically. And tirzepatide has a GLP and a GIP, so it has two targeting places in the brain. It says, hey, you're full. So the kind of the way these medications work is that when you eat, it goes into the stomach and then breaks down and starts to go into the small bowel or the upper bowel, the small intestine. And the body then secretes actual GLP-1. They also secrete GIP and a couple different other hormones. And these hormones travel to the brain and they kind of lock and key into a receptor site that says, hey, you're full, stop eating. So think of it as like a specific key goes into a specific lock and it stays there. And the way these medications are designed is they're designed to kind of sit there for 5 to 7 days. So one thing that we like about tirzepatide is it mimics that, or semaglutide, those GLP-1s, they mimic that hormone that says, hey, you're full, don't eat. So that's kind of the desired effect we want. Um, so, but a couple things that we have to kind of worry about or think about when we kind of look at that lock and key, kind of was brought up earlier, was okay, well, now that we're not eating, we're not hungry, we kind of, people miss it and kind of forget to eat, is you have to have a good nutritional coach. You have to have someone that's really going to work with you. And that's what I love about Adam and Brenna's program is they work with a lot of my patients with this because if you don't eat, the body switches into a couple different mechanisms to make energy because your organs have to have energy to run brain, heart, pancreas, liver, all these organs. So if you don't have adequate fuel or adequate protein, what does the body do? At first thing it does is actually raises cortisol. And we're going to talk about that another date and how cortisol affects metabolism and everything else, but it signals the body to start burning muscle. Once you kind of start doing that, that's when people, we always hear about Ozempic body, Ozempic face. What's happened with these individuals is they haven't worked with a good nutrition coach to kind of make sure they get enough protein. And so they burned out all their protein and their fat in order to lose the weight. You've lost the weight, you're metabolically a little bit healthier, but you have no muscle mass. So that's a real important thing to kind of work on when you're taking these medications. Let's talk about a few things when it comes to like some side effects that I've noticed with people. And it just depends on the person. Are GLPs right for everyone? No. Do they help many, many, many people? And I have many patients on them. Absolutely. It's like was mentioned earlier. We don't just use these medications for just weight loss. If someone is inflamed, it actually has a really strong effect with our immune system in down regulating inflammation. And I'll use them as a low dose in order to kind of help with inflammation if someone is inflamed. You typically notice when you start these medications that within the first 2 to 4 weeks, you're going to drop 3 to 5 pounds of just bloat. And that comes from multiple things within our environment, the foods that we eat, all of the things that we just, consume that they put in our foods that, we all want to try to get away from. And so GLP-1s are really powerful in helping that. But a couple of the side effects that I've noticed is nausea can be a common one. And typically I'll start a really low dose, 2 milligrams, 2.5 milligrams, or 0.25 milligrams, and we'll slowly bring the patient up if they have any nausea. If they start to have some nausea, I can do a few things. I can split the dose, or I can give them some antiemetic, something that will help decrease that nausea. Another one is constipation. We've heard that from someone earlier today. Reason why constipation happens is this is with these medications, it slows down what's called our gut motility, or basically the way that our stomach and our intestines and our colon process and move our food and our nutrients through our entire system. These medications tend to kind of slow it down. There's a good and a bad part to that. The good part to that is it decreases the gut motility in the stomach and the upper bowel so that we feel full longer, which is what we want. Less intake, the right amount of intake, but then we're full longer. We're not like hungry, 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 hungry all the time. But the bad part of that is it slows down the process in the colon. That's where we absorb our water. So if it slows that down, we're going to absorb too much water. And what's going to happen is we're going to get a lot more constipation. So the way we kind of fix that is make sure there's adequate water intake. We kind of, yeah, that's the big one. Just make sure they get plenty of water. Sometimes there can be a little bit of diarrhea in the beginning if your metabolic process is not quite where you want it to be or should be. Sometimes we can have a little bit of that. Typically, we'll lower the dose and go a little bit slower. Um, on semaglutide, the single GLP-1, I tend to see a lot more heartburn and reflux, and that is common, especially at the higher doses of that. And semaglutide is a great drug and great medication, but personally, I prefer to prescribe tirzepatide. It just has less side effects. I don't see the heartburn. I don't see the constipation. I don't see the nausea with it. But those are some of the common side effects. There can be severe side effects, but we want to make sure that we get a good history on our patient. If there's any pancreatitis or something with their pancreas, medullary thyroid cancer. So all those things you want to make sure that you find a good provider that really does a good history with you so that they can make sure that it's safe for you to take. There was a question that was kind of brought up, like, are these medications good for everyone? The answer is yes and no. It's no, because not everybody's appropriate for it. You know, if you're going to lose 5 or 10 pounds, but you're metabolically healthy and you're on a good track, probably not good for you. If you don't really need to lose a lot of weight, but you have a lot of inflammation, it could probably help you out with that on a low dose for a long, long time. A lot of people do that. If you have quite a bit of weight to lose, and the amount of weight that we typically see is anywhere between 20 to 25% of the overall body mass. So, you know, and then if you hit a plateau, a lot of times I see plateaus. Is it due to the medication or is it due to nutrition? It's usually always nutrition, because these medications aren't going to make you lose weight. They'll decrease you being hungry, and you might lose weight that way. But without a decreased caloric intake and a good exercise regime, it's going to work for a little while, and then it will slowly kind of plateau you. So those are kind of some of the things I see, or who is or who isn't a good candidate for it. And then the positive, inflammation. I think that's kind of about what I have when it comes to explaining how these medications work and what I use them for and how we use them. So yeah, do you guys have any questions, or what do you think, Brenna? What's the do you want to open for that?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
Awesome.
well, oh, I think you need to turn volume off that. Sorry, we're hearing some back verbiage. Well, Jay, I really appreciate you sharing all that, because I think one of the most common questions that we get is like, why did I plateau on a GLP-1? And I just want to go over the nutrition piece of that just real quick,
Sure.
because one of the most we get that a lot as health coaches, and the truth is that plateaus are pretty normal, I think, right? And so we
Yeah.
see them happen for several reasons. Your body adapts, and I know you've talked about that lock and key method,
Yeah.
which you can go over a little bit here in a minute. But
Sure.
what we've noticed is that the lock and key method with receptors, you can explain that
Sure.
calories get really
Sure.
low,
Sure.
protein intake then drops, and then muscle mass starts to decrease in people. And when their
Right.
muscle mass decreases, their energy drops, and they're eating less, so they're feeling less energized. And
Right.
overall, that's kind of how we end up in a plateau state. So many people think that they'll just eat less.
Right. Right.
But often the answer is actually to protect and build, what matters most, like your muscle.
You know, and a lot of times too, when I get someone that's either on from a different place or different clinic that's on these medications, and they plateaued or something's going on, the first thing I do is I look at their nutrition. You know, I kind of look at, like, okay, why are you fatigued? You know, is there a hormone imbalance? You know, is there a thyroid imbalance? We also kind of look at, like, and you got to think about these receptors that lock and key, is that, you know, you take this medication in, it locks in there. Well, the body has a nice little mechanism. It likes to make more receptor sites. So as those receptor sites open, that's where the hunger comes from. And then you got to up the dose and up the dose. And once you're at maximum dose of 15 milligrams on tirzepatide, or 2.5, I think up to 7.5 on semaglutide. You know, and it's not having the same effect. And I'll hear that, hey, the medication's not working anymore. Well, a lot of times is your body's built all these receptor sites up. And so now you have the receptor sites saying you're hungry, or you're saying you're this, because a normal physiology with the body is you have these metabolic set points, which I'm sure you guys know about, right? And so your body gets to a weight, and you're there for 6 months, 7 months, a year. It's comfortable at that weight. And when you start to lose weight, what the body says is, hey, whoa, we're starving to death. We're dropping weight. We're going to lose all of our energy sources for our organs. And that's where the hunger comes in. It makes you want to eat. And these blunt that feeling, and blunt that signal for the, that creating ghrelin, these other hormones. And so, you kind of have to put all that together of like, why are they plateauing or what's going on with them, and then that's why I love working with you guys. I just say, you guys really can get to the nitty gritty and really, talk to them and help them. And your program really gives them the tools that they need in order to kind of either surpass that plateau or kind of really learn how to eat correctly, because not a lot of people know how to do that. That's a big one.
Sure.
And that's where coaching comes in. I mean, we're not here to, tell people what to do,
Right.
but we're here to help them navigate life. Like you said, the protein goals, hydration, movement, sleep, mindset, those plateaus,
Right.
when they get to their goal and transition planning, life after weight loss, because eventually everybody will reach a point where they have to maintain their results, right?
Right.
Like
Right. Right.
that's
Right.
definitely. And so we're not anti GLP-1, we're pro
Right.
results.
Yeah.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Right. It's all about the
Right.
health, the health of the patient, how to get them to their healthiest state that they possibly can be. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. I
yeah.
just want to touch on just a couple other things and then we'll
Sure.
open up the floor to a Q&A. Um, and let you kind of answer those questions, Jay, because I'm sure that people have some. We've got about 9 minutes left. But
Okay.
I just want everybody to know, like, muscle is your metabolism, right? So our goal is not just losing weight, not just seeing a smaller number, but it's maintaining lean muscle, improving metabolic health, habits, all the energy that we can have. Like, who was it that the lady said that? Like, all the energy that they increased and creating that lifestyle that they'll sustain. And that's why we focus on that. We're not just focused on helping people lose weight. We're helping, them keep it off. We've been dropping a form in the chat just so that people know. We're actually, if people want to partner with our nutrition support, that if you've got questions about GLP-1s, if you've got questions about our nutritional support, please fill out that form if you're on this call. We're actually gifting metabolic scales and free metabolic screenings to anybody that wants to join and partner with us. And in addition to that, if any clients on here invited a friend that felt like they needed to hear about GLP-1s, maybe they've been going through a plateau themselves and has some questions that they want to ask Jay, please fill out that form. We're offering $100 referral credits for clients that refer anybody. So I think we can open it up to some
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Q&A. Like, what do you think, Jay? Or does that sound
Yeah.
good to you?
That's my favorite thing. Let's do it.
Yeah,
Jay is a
Yes.
plethora of knowledge.
yeah. So go ahead, Heather.
I just, Jay mentioned a metabolic set point, and I don't know if
Sure.
people will understand what that is. So I was just
Oh,
going to see if you would be open to clarifying what that is,
okay.
because after a while, your body gets used to,
Right.
right?
Right.
So if
Essentially,
you
that
would just
that
explain that for people.
Oh, sure. Sorry. Yeah, absolutely. So, metabolic set point, what does that mean? And sorry, I get lost in my own medical jargon in my own head sometimes. What it means is where your body's comfortable at. So, if you're at 150 pounds, you feel good at 150 pounds, your metabolism, your body, everything feels it's where it should be. And you gain 20 pounds, you've been there for 6 months or a year. Well, now your body's comfortable at that weight. And when you go below that weight, 5, 10, 15, 20 pounds, the body kind of it freaks out. It doesn't have a mentally, oh my gosh, we're dying, but it has that kind of that metabolic way of going, okay, we're going to shut down a lot of energy production, a lot of our, we're going to have fatigue, and it wants that weight back because it thinks that you're starving to death. And it doesn't just want the weight back, it wants a little extra for reserve for the next time. So in order to counteract that with GLP-1s, it's really good at this is that once you get to goal weight, you get to the weight you want to be, we then bring you down to a low dose and we keep you there for 6 months to a year. Sometimes it can take that long for the metabolism and the body to reset to that new weight that you're at and is comfortable there. Hope, does that answer your question? Okay, I guess so. Hope so.
Another one.
Yeah, it sounds like it
Lynette.
did. She gave a thumbs up.
Yeah.
So,
Perfect.
yeah,
Awesome. Thanks. Okay.
thanks, Jay.
Sure.
Yeah, so Lynette, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was on Ozempic for several years. My endocrinologist put me on there, and then that stopped working. And so I moved to Manjaro. Been much better. I've reached my goal weight thanks to
Sure.
the 5-1. And we did decrease I guess, one dosage thing. So do
Mhm.
you work down off
Mhm.
of the medicine or can you just stop?
Don't just stop. So remember the receptor sites, the lock and key I told you about? And those and the Manjaro or the Trizepatide is what it is locked and keyed on there. And this is if we open those up and just stop, all these receptors of the brain's going to go, oh my gosh, we need food because I've got to have this going. Because when you eat, that's when it's going to make all those GLP-1s naturally. It's going to go and do that. And if they're all open, it's like flooding the system with hunger cravings. So what you want to do is say you're at your 5 milligrams is where you lost all your weight and you're doing really well. I'd probably take you from down to like 4 milligrams for a couple weeks, take it down 3 milligrams for a couple weeks, then take it to 2 to 2.5 milligrams. And I'd keep you on 2.5 milligrams for 6 months, 7 months, or 4 to 5 months, 4 to 6 months. And then what we would do is go to every other week. And you're slowly tapering off because I've got to keep your body, it's got to get rid of some of those receptor sites so it doesn't create your hunger and gain your weight back. And your body's set point has to then go, okay, I'm comfortable at this weight. And that's how we keep it off, not yo-yo diet. If you stop immediately, you're probably going to go back up. Unfortunately, you might not, but 9 times out of 10 people go back up because they get hungry. It's just a natural process.
And Jay, I think we have a question in the chat
Sure.
asking if you could talk more about nutrition naturally, increasing the body's, oh, I just lost
Yep, I'll get it. So
it.
basically, I think the question was like, we know that naturally we can increase GLP-1s with the nutrition we eat. I know that fiber can do that if I think, I'm pretty sure. So talk a little bit about that.
So when it comes to increasing your own GLP-1s, and we've kind of heard this more meals more frequent, smaller meals more frequent. Why does that work? Why does that work? Well, a couple of things. One is it kind of gives some satiety to the body, and you're going to create more GLP-1s. But number two, you're going to increase your metabolism. It's always going to be churning and going through it. Like, people talk about doing intermittent fasting. That's a big one. It's been around for a long, long time, but they don't do it correctly. Intermittent fasting needs to be eaten every 2 hours for 8 hours straight. And then you stop for 16. So increasing natural GLP-1s is going to depend upon the types of food you eat, like protein, a good protein base. You
Mhm.
eat to the grams of protein to the weight you want to be. So if you're 150 and you want to be 130, eat 130 grams a day is kind of what I teach. But you also have to look at, are you getting adequate amounts of carbohydrates, the right kind of carbohydrates? Fruit's a fantastic one. A low ingredient bread is actually really good for you in the morning. Some of those things, but again, I send most of my people to you guys because you guys have the time and you have the knowledge and you got a great program. And so that's
Yes,
why I'm glad we partnered together and do a lot of work together.
for sure.
Yeah, you've been
And
super excited about your patients'
well, the
results.
patient's results have been
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been pretty awesome to watch. And we know the nutrition works, but with that paired, we've really seen
Yeah.
really the mental leap, into getting more structure, into being open and making a lifestyle instead of a diet. Really
Yeah.
noticed that.
Are there
Perfect.
any more questions? I'm trying to roll through the chat.
Oh, we got one. I think somebody raised their hand.
Yeah. All right, perfect.
Is it?
And guys, just so you know, we may be going to a different camera here in a minute.
Brenna's computer is not charging and
Yeah.
it's been about to die for a minute.
But keep going. We've
Yeah.
got like 1 or 2 more minutes. So we've got enough for like 1 or 2 more quick questions.
Yeah.
Okay. So two questions, like as I'm experimenting with GLPs. One,
Sure.
is more necessarily more?
No.
Okay, so if you're feeling good on whatever units, milliliters, doesn't necessarily mean just because you don't see a big jump in the scale that things
Yeah.
internally
Yeah.
aren't shifting.
So I'll go quick. A couple
Yeah.
things. One, you dose based upon symptom resolution, meaning if you don't have cravings on day 6 or 7 before your next injection, you're in a good dose. If on
Okay.
day 4 or 5 you're starting to get some cravings, remember those receptor sites are opening again, you add a little bit more on.
Okay.
And number two, I'm sorry, what was the second part of your question?
Um, I think you kind of answered it, but I was just saying
Oh,
more is not more. Doesn't
yeah.
necessarily mean the scale has to shift, but if I'm
Oh,
feeling
yeah.
satiated and good,
Yeah. And remember, one thing that I preach this a lot. Scales are scales, and scales can be manipulated because of how much water you've had and food in a day and in the morning. And I know the scale is great, and we all look at that and go, oh my God, I'm down 5, I'm down 10, I'm down 20. This is fantastic. What I tell people is if you plateau or you feel you're plateauing on the scale, how do your clothes feel? Are your clothes getting looser? Are they fitting a little bit lot better? Are you fitting into clothes that you wanted to fit in for a long, long time? And so I kind of revert to that of like, how does that affect, how's your body reacting?
yeah.
So, okay.
So that was my first part of it. And second part, you talked a little bit about immune. One crazy wild thing that I've noticed is I have to take an antihistamine now. Like I sneeze a lot more,
Yeah.
and that's new since GLPs. Is that like, am I just making that up or is that?
You know, how the body reacts when it comes to an allergic reaction, if you're having more allergic reactions or whatever's kind of going on, it's variable. Everybody responds in a specific way in some ways. And whether that is due to that or not, I really don't know. That's not something I've heard of, but I can't say, hey, no, that's not true, because you're experiencing this. So,
Right.
if it depends on if you come off or when you stop, if that changes, or if you're on tirzepatide versus semaglutide. And the new one coming out is retatrutide, and I'm excited for that. We can't give it yet. It's not FDA approved. That's going to be a fantastic medication. So,
Correct.
okay.
Okay. Yeah, no, that was just a couple of things I wanted to pick your brain about.
Sure, sure.
Thank you.
Uh-huh, no problem. Anybody else?
There's a question in the chat about age.
Sure.
Are there limitations on age and prescribing it to older folks?
Age isn't the factor. It's how they are how their physiology is, what their body is doing. We want to look at their liver, kidneys. We'll make sure that that's okay. No, it's not. It's bypassing the liver. We want to make sure there's no kidney problems. But remember, when you're starting to kind of look at like how it affects the body, let's see what anti-inflammatory effects that we see, and a lot of inflammation decrease. It tends to kind of help with that. So am I going to have like an 85-year-old, male or female come to my clinic and wanting GLP-1s? Maybe, but I have to look at them individually and really kind of evaluate them individually and see if it's appropriate for them. If they're walking, doing great, want to live a healthier life and I can help them, I will. But if they come in and they have kidney disease, liver disease, heart disease or something going on, it's going to take a lot more for me to just have to evaluate where they are physiologically.
Can you also address bone health and damage to bones?
With GLP-1s,
Yes, sir.
so when we're looking at like bone health, remember this all goes back to intake versus output. What are we putting in our mouth versus not putting in our mouth? Are we giving the right amount of proteins? Because protein, when it comes to how the body puts things together, that everything is a chain of proteins, whether it's bone through calcium or vitamin D, getting the calcium in there with K2 absorption or those things. But bone health, one thing I stress is that when you stress a bone, and how do you stress a bone? You lift heavier weight. You gotta kind of stress that bone. It will get thicker. And so when I look at bone health, honestly, I don't approach it from a weight loss perspective. I approach it from a hormone perspective and where a woman or a man is in their hormonal physiology of their lifespan, whether they're in pre, post, or in postmenopausal, or a man that's in testosterone. So it does kind of work together. But if your nutrition is low and your calcium is low and your intake is low, everything's going to kind of start to fade away because your body has to have that to utilize, for whatever it needs.
Any other?
Jay,
Oh,
yeah, I think, well, we're running out of time, right?
yeah, we're probably running out of time. It is.
Want to definitely thank you
Oh,
for
sure.
the information, the Q&A. We
Mhm.
have been a hot mess of tech tonight, so
Oh, we're
we've
good.
had to pivot
Well,
over and
that's
over,
on
but
me. My
But
52-year-old brain had a problem, so it's okay.
but really appreciate everything you're sharing, coming on tonight and helping us out.
It was very, very
Very
helpful. I'm
informative.
gonna actually go back and listen to this again for myself, just because I really want to soak in all that good stuff. Jay's a smart cookie.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't know about all that, but I appreciate the compliments. Again, thank you so much for having me. I'd love to do it again. If you have anything in the future, let me know. I'm happy to come on and talk more.
Well,
For
yeah,
sure.
I think
Yeah.
I think we'd like to have another call, like, and talk about, cortisol and nutrition and
Oh,
different things that
yeah.
GLP-1s can absolutely do. So yeah, we would look forward to that.
You're barking up my tree there. I'm really liking that. I talk all day about that, so let me know. I'm happy to do it.
Well, just real quick before we end, if you're on this call, make sure that you fill out that form that got dropped in the chat by Miss Bobby Williams. Thank you for
Thank
admitting
you.
for us
Yes.
tonight, Bobby. You're
Yes.
amazing.
We need
And
to take you out to dinner for all the pimping.
this will just ask a couple questions, a handful of questions, and we just want to make sure that if you do want to partner with us and support with your nutrition, or whether it be with GLP-1 and nutrition, we want to make sure that we have the correct information to support you well.
Yeah.
And who invited you, all those good things. We've got a free scan, a free scale that we're giving folks, so please fill out that so that we can make sure we get it to you. Okay? All right, guys, anything else?
No. Lots of good information. Congratulations, Heather, Marnie, Carol.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Bobby. Thank you so much, Jay. You guys were amazing tonight. And yeah, stay tuned for sequel 2. We're gonna have our act together a little bit more. So yeah.
Have a good night, guys.
Have a good night.